Okay, here we go. We are on our way home. Jesus, can't talk, can't breathe, can't do nothing. Today was an alright day. Wasn't terrible, it wasn't awful, it wasn't awesome. It was just alright. I made this pot pie that is mostly not good. It's like, I felt like I put a whole bunch of chicken in there. I put like 3 chicken breasts in there, and then whenever I'm eating on the thing, I only get like a couple pieces of chicken with it. And I'm like, what in the world's going on here? And so, I don't know, that feels kind of lame. The biscuit dough didn't get completely done, which is always frustrating. Like whenever I try and put like a crust on top of a dish like this, it almost always just turns into mush. Like the top gets all brown and then the bottom is just goopy grossness. And so got to deal with that. Just was really disappointed. Like I keep trying to do this and it keeps not working, and like one of these days you think I would learn my lesson and be like, you know, I should stop trying to do this and just start doing something else. I don't know. But at any rate, I made up a whole pot of it now, so I have to eat on it until it's gone. Maybe I was thinking about disassembling it and like turning the underbaked side on the bottom of the pan, because the bottoms always burn, and then putting what was the bottom on top of the toppings, because that part almost never burns. Oh, it is almost 5 o'clock again. It's the one thing when I work in the same office as my boss, is I lose track of time because he's asking me to do a whole bunch of things, and then I do these things, and then I'm like, oh man. And so, yeah, it's just frustrating. It's like, dadgummit, I did not want to have to deal with that. So, well, it's not that it's like all that terrible to deal with. I just, when it's time to go, I want to go. I don't want to be here anymore. And I definitely don't want to be here this close to 5 o'clock, because then I run into 5 o'clock traffic, which is a joke in comparison to those of us who live in bigger cities and actually have to deal with 5 o'clock traffic. But when you're used to there not being any traffic, some traffic feels like all of the traffic. But I do have to put myself into perspective from time to time. Be like, you know, at least you're not waiting several hours. Come on, Mr. Truck, it's not your turn. Stop being a jerk face. At least I'm not getting stuck and delayed for several hours because I left work later than I normally would like to. So there's always that silver lining at the end of the tunnel, and no, it is not an oncoming train. I started watching videos this morning about commonplace notebook note-taking, and it sounds kind of interesting. And it's apparently got a pretty solid following. Both the people I watched had like hundreds of thousands of views on this, like what seemed like a very simple video to me. I was like, why does this video have so many views? Like, I don't get it. And then I'm over here struggling to get anyone to watch my video for longer than 5 seconds. And so at that rate, I was curious, and I was like, well, is commonplace books, is that like a niche that I need to be getting into and figuring out? It's basically a journal, and you keep like quotes and things in this journal that mean a whole lot to you, and so that you can refer back to them whenever you want and or need to. And I think it's a cool idea. There's a lot of like ancient philosophers and stuff who used to apparently have commonplace notebooks, and I don't know if it's coming back or not, but like I said, all the videos I saw on it were of these small, minute channels, and they were hitting like hundreds of thousands of views on their content. So it's like, maybe do I need to be moving into the commonplace notebook niche? Like, what's going on there? But it is kind of an interesting concept. I don't read enough material anymore to like fill up a notebook's worth of quotes or anything. And so then I feel like I would be conceited and I would just fill it up with quotes of my own that I've written that I like. And that's not necessarily the point of a commonplace notebook. Like, the point would be to express a want and an appreciation for someone else's form of expression. This guy, he's trying to run to catch the crosswalk and about got hit by a car because he's acting a fool. But at any rate, the interesting thing about, I feel like if I did a commonplace notebook, it would be mostly song lyrics. And like at that point, like, do I really need a notebook just to fill up with song lyrics? Like, I usually would just go and listen to the song. But like, there is movie quotes, movie scenes, I think would be a fun one to have a commonplace notebook on, and just like examine the scenes and the way in which they make me feel and the way in which I can reflect on those, because those are oftentimes, and it's not something that I've always really taken much part into. Like, I only recently started paying attention to movies, and I've run into a lot of movies that have really impactful scenes that I can really appreciate. And so it's like I would almost do like a commonplace notebook, but just for like impactful movie scenes, and trying to examine like what about them sticks with me so much that it is a big deal for me. And like I said, because I don't go back and rewatch movie scenes all that often. Like, the confession scene in The Breakfast Club still to this day is a big deal to me, and I've seen that several times. Like, it's on Netflix, and I watched it on Netflix, and then after like that first day of seeing it, I was like, I have to see that again. So I watched the scene again and was still madly in love with it. And then I went and bought the DVD, put the DVD in, watched the scene again, and was just like, oh, that is so incredible. And then there are several scenes in Scent of a Woman that I really appreciate. I recently watched Scent of a Woman, and it's another one of those instances where like you see a certain actor in a film and you just know that it's going to be good. And Al Pacino, I feel like, is absolutely one of those actors for me. And a lot of people say this, and I would agree, but like Chris O'Donnell, who plays the young high schooler in that movie, he does an incredible job like keeping up with Al Pacino in one of his best performances ever. And so just all in all, it's a great piece of work. And there's a couple scenes in that one that I've rewatched as well. And so if I were to have a commonplace notebook, I could see myself just recording impactful movie scenes and using that notebook for that purpose. Because like I said, I don't necessarily go back and watch movie scenes or rewatch movie scenes as often as I go and listen to a song. Like, if I get a hankering to hear a certain set of lyrics, I usually just turn the song on and don't have any issue in doing that. But like going and putting in a movie and rewatching a whole scene tends to be a bit more of an undertaking than just throwing on a song would be. And so with that being considered, I feel like that would be an effective use for a commonplace notebook, for me at least. Who knows? There's no telling where or what else that could make for me. And like, quotes are cool. I see a lot of quotes that I like. I even have like my own like very makeshift, non-official commonplace notebook already, and that is just like the notes tab on my computer, because there's plenty of quotes that I have found where I'll just paste them into the notes pad just because it was like impactful to me, and I was like, I don't want to forget about this. And every now and again I'll go back and I'll be like, hey, look at all these quotes that I've recorded for whatever, for one reason or another. And so I think that is a good practice to have. So I might start a commonplace notebook and make it a part of this video series somehow, if that turns out to be something that people are interested in working on or listening to. It's a kind of hobby that relates to writing. Like, as a writer, if I'm writing down notes in a commonplace notebook, then it just makes sense that like that would be something that I was doing. And I also would agree that like I feel like it needs to be an analog process, like pen and paper, not a digital thing. Like that's what a lot of people are like, well, you just use your notes app. It's like, I don't want to just use my notes app, right? That is not as thought-provoking as writing something down and like putting actual labor into it. And so I don't know, it'll be interesting to see what exactly the Commonplace Notebook practice has to offer me or can bring me. Like I said, I absolutely intend to pursue that, and just like I said, it's another thing to try and do. This truck is going to race me right now. I'm in the passing lane going well over the speed limit, and they're in the not passing lane going even more so well over the speed limit. And I'm going to have to back down because I'll run into the car next to me if I don't. But it's just obnoxious. Like, why are you driving like that? Why are you being like that? But we'll just sit here and play this game. Yeah, Volkswagen, get over. Thank you. Now I'm going to drive real fast, like a magician. And then I don't have to sit here and play neck and neck with this truck anymore. Alright, I don't want to continue at that speed, so I'll just go here, let that person over. They'll probably get all grumpy at me. Maybe they won't get all grumpy at me, I don't know. Yeah, go ahead and pass now, buddy. That's how this works. When you ride in the passing lane, you pass people, and when you ride in the not passing lane, you don't pass people. Anyway, a little bit of road rage there. The calmest road rage you ever did see. But, so yeah, Commonplace Notebook taking. Didn't even know that was a thing until this morning, and now I'm like, maybe that's my new thing. Maybe that's how I get noticed by the entire world. Or maybe it's just another thing that I try that doesn't exactly succeed to the same extent I would like my things to succeed to. And that's also a possible unfortunate reality that I have to face. And so it's an interesting thing and an interesting concept. It's just interesting all around interesting. And hopefully it provides me with some sort of like more quality in life. Like if nothing else, if it doesn't blow up into this 300,000 viewed video of some nobody talking about Commonplace Notebooks, then maybe it will at least turn into me finding a better way to appreciate things in life, because life is too short to not properly appreciate the things that you appreciate. And so hopefully by doing this Commonplace Notebook thing, I will find another good practice for myself. A lot of people talk a lot about journaling, and they say that a lot of very successful people keep a journal, and it helps them to keep themselves like more motivated or more on point, if you will, with their goals. And so that is definitely something that I hope to work through or figure out, because that, like anything you can do to try and make yourself more productive or to try and make yourself better, is something worth trying to do, in my opinion. And so if Commonplace Notebook taking is enough like journaling to make me comparable to those other very successful people, then great. And if it's not, then at least I said I tried it. Like, you can never knock something you've not tried, correct? So it's just going to be a very interesting year for me, trying and doing a whole heck of a lot of things. My new book launches the 31st of this month, and so I'm just super excited to try and get that out in the world, but like also try and promote it a little better than my other books have been promoted. And I bought this Amazon book on how to promote your book successfully on Amazon. And so I'm really hoping that I can drive home some sales on that one, and hoping that I can turn around the overall outlook on my content and getting people to watch and to pay attention and to care. And it's generally one of the most difficult things to do. Like, there is a lot of people in this world who might care about me, but do not care the slightest about like my creative endeavors. And more often than not, the people who care about your creative endeavors are not going to be those same people who have cared about you all these years. Like, you feel like you have however many Facebook friends, and you feel like you're close enough to them that, like, oh, if all of my Facebook friends followed my work, then I would be successful. And that's maybe something to say, depending on how many Facebook friends you actually have. But, like, we all know it's a well-established fact that not all of those people on your Facebook are, in fact, your friends. Like, a good chunk of them are acquaintances at best, and a good chunk of them might just been coworkers, or people who added you or you added them for one reason or another. And so, at that rate, it's like, where does the quality friends actually begin, and where does the quality friends end? And it's like, I have a very small pool of friends who still to this day will buy every book that I've ever put out, and they read them as well. And like, that is like the truest of like fans, if you will. It's the people who not only buy the book, but like read it as well. And like, hopefully they read it because they enjoy it. They don't read it just because of the fact that I wrote it. But like, that is something as a creator that you want people to do. You want people to be able to appreciate your work that you've created. Like, most people aren't putting work out there, well, especially if you put work out there. Most people aren't going to put work out there and just have it only out there for themselves. And to the same end, like, 289-8885. That should be easy enough to remember. That's the billboard number that I need to remember for getting a billboard reservation for my new book that I hope to launch. So y'all don't let me forget that number. And it's the same area code as my old cell phone number, and then it's a bunch of 8s and a 5, and that should be easy enough to remember. So I'll call them up, and on Jan 31 I will maybe see about having them put up a billboard ad. I always make fun of that billboard because it's got like pixels in it. It's a digital billboard in the middle of like the highway. It's weird, but it's got pixels in it that do not populate properly, and they mess up all the time, and it's like, gross. But at any rate, we will go ahead and figure out what needs to be done there and get that. That'll be just one more place that I can hopefully advertise the books, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, look at him, he's on a billboard. And I'm hoping that I can get a QR code up there and have it big enough to where like people can drive by and be like, whoa, QR code, I'm gonna buy that book. So we will see what the world has in store for us, and go from there. But yeah, got some cool plans. I'm gonna do big things this time. There's another digital billboard right as we come into town here, and I feel like I used to see the number for that one, but I haven't seen it in a while. And that's what's like tough to try and sit and wait for these things to show their numbers. Like, where am I gonna park my car to just look at this billboard and see if it eventually flashes my number? Because this is probably the more professional billboard. I would aim to get on both billboards, honestly, but they're both digital billboards, which is interesting. But I don't see that one changing. Maybe it isn't digital. I swear it was or is. Can't really tell. Maybe, okay, one side is digital and the other side is not. I think think that's how that's going. Yeah. So what I would need to do is sit here, because yeah, that one has like companies advertising on it, like my employer advertises on it. So I wonder who I need to talk to get on that billboard. I'd like to get on them both, but I wonder how much that costs too, because someone said it was very expensive to be on a billboard for a month, but that's good exposure, good local exposure, so you can't get too upset about that. We'll see what happens. We will see what happens. But yeah, so we'll see. This video will probably serve as another testing grounds, and that's what I've been trying to do now, is like, as I find things that I can test the waters with, I'm gonna test the waters. And like, if this video about commonplace note taking blows up into my most popular thing, then maybe that's something I should talk about a little more often. And if it capsizes into something that no one really cares about, then I know no one really cares about it. And like I said, the ones where I use celebrity names and the titles have definitely gone somewhere. I've got the video with CM Punk, which is probably my second most seen video of this series now. I mean, it's got 80 views, which is nothing to like be like, oh my gosh, he's moving up in the world. But it's also better than most of my other videos, which average like 3 views. So it's like, there's a huge difference between 3 and 80, but there's an even huger difference between 80 and 10,000. And I would say that's probably the goal that I'm shooting for. If I could reach a consistent like group of 10,000 people, I think that would be reasonable. This person was way over on their side of the road. Learn to drive. What is with me today in road rage? Apparently ain't nobody know how to drive today. But at any rate, so yeah, we have made it home. It has been another wonderful drive with you guys. Hopefully everyone is having a decent time, and we can continue to have decent times. And I will see you guys the next time I see you. Thank you and good night.